to the 6th Sweden Major here in Gävle. And we are on the B stream here. With me is this time, Emmy.
I've replaced Blue.
You've replaced
Blue's having a sit down. Blue's on the opener and the closer today. So he has a very long day. He sees this in the room. Good luck, Blue. But yes, I am here. It's an honor to be here in Gävle.
Gävle, something.
Pronounced not how it's written, like a lot of these words, but what we have written in front of us is the showdown between Rogue and Chiefs.
Yeah, we definitely do. So, you know what? Let's just get right into these rosters to introduce these teams for those of you who do not know. And let's get started with Chiefs first.
I'll take Chiefs. They are the team from Down Under. They're a team that's finally representing Australia, who obviously haven't had the OCE region, haven't had the best showing because they haven't been able to show. And it's been such a shame. So finally, we get to have a really good look at a very strong team from this region. They're in a tough group. In their own words, they're seen as a free game to a lot of other people, but they like that. They like that they're being a little bit sort of slept on because they are ready to wake everybody up here, strong on the attacks. But if you want somebody to look towards, it is Ethan. He is their flag flyer, he is their top performer, and he is their player with international experience on the roster that almost took out Navi at Tokonami, which went on to eventually win it. There is possibility here for them.
Yeah, definitely so. And as you said, like according to many probably viewers as well, they're like, all right, well, we haven't heard of any Australian team in the past year, so, you know what, why would this be different? Well, first of all, this is the first time they're back again since everything that occurred in the world, you know, you might have been, realizing it here or there. Either way, it is Chiefs that is back, and you're seeing them on your screens right now. Their opponents are going to be Rogue, and Rogue has a very interesting story as well, you could say. It's been a long time since we've seen them at the majors. There has been some iterations, some changes on the rosters, etc., etc. And whereas they, went into stage 3 thinking, all right, if we can avoid relegations, that is considered a win, they ended up 4th place on the stage, meaning they would qualify for the major. They said it themselves, it is a bonus. We're going to do the best we got. We're going to try and give everything we have. And let's see how far they can come with it.
I think that's it as well, because one of those little sort of dangly golden tickets over this group is what's happened to OXG, because a lot of people sort of had this as a phase OXG favourites group, but obviously, unfortunately, Foxay could not be here, and he's staying home and safe, and we wish him a quick recovery, but because of that, Hopes is having to step in, and because of that, it's not just a team that was a very hot favourite to be missing a player. They're missing arguably one of their best players. It's an IGL force for them, although they have a dynamic force. This is, for these two teams, a moment where suddenly that second spot, it's not become easy by any means, but it's become easier. And that is an important bout of energy that is going to be no better represented than in the showdown between Rogue and Chiefs.
Yeah, whereas many would have maybe said like, all right, well, it could be one of these two teams, but probably not. Suddenly it is like, it will probably be one of these two teams that have the opportunity to be going through. But the age-old question stays.
Cheeky little Leon wink.
Cheeky little.
It's good. It's great to have all the players here. Obviously, it's international play. You get so excited, as you can see. They've all been enjoying themselves. There's some gifts. There's some exploitable stuff for the socials. It's exciting. Now, if you're a little bit too unfamiliar with Rogue, well, where they struggle a little bit is on their defense. Bank, as a map between the pair of them, I'll cite Chiefs first of all. It's pretty good. They've banned it a handful of times recently. 2 out of 3 plays have been a win. They enjoy it, and they're good at both sides of it.
Whereas on the side of Rogue, I have it banned for them, so they banned it themselves 6 times out of the European League.
Yes.
They don't really like to play it. At least they never liked to play it. So who knows? Maybe they have been hiding it because, well, even though they have played quite a bunch of maps, they haven't played Bank.
Do you know what the curiosity is here? The other map that Rogue haven't played at all throughout EUL, the only other one is Oregon.
Yeah.
And that was left in until pretty much the very end. They had the choice here as well to go to Chalet, a map where we have seen Rogue play, but they lost it twice out of the recent times that they played it. So okay, it's been a constant ban for them. It's an unknown entity. That makes it a bit tougher for Chiefs now. They're going to be working off of their own game. They don't really have anything to counter-strat. They don't have anything to play against, whereas Rogue will have VODs. You've got big brains behind both teams, obviously. They have a fantastic sort of pocket of resources. And you can see the man, the myth, the legend, Meepy, behind Rogue, a face that you will recognize from having a history with them, and is cited as being one of the biggest brains that the game has.
Definitely, but we can also not neglect the rest of the support staff, for example, because we've seen it with Rogue before. The Stage 2 issues became their signature mark. They were being first rounded quite often in international tournaments. Now they've said also before we want to go back to what we were before the Stage 2 thing. So we're like, does that mean we're going back to just making it to the major? But that is of course not their goal, because they got Bernadette in. That is she is a sports psychologist.
Yes.
That came in, and she has done such a good job with this roster. You'll see it as well when they win a round. That camera that is going by will be beaten up.
There's a lot of fist pumping.
Every fist will go towards it.
But at the same time, Chiefs have a fantastic support structure. Obviously, Wartortle and Hell bringing the coaching analysis. They have their own psychologist, which the amazing name of Pocket Psych, which I just love because you picture just a little psychologist popping out and be like, it's going well, keep going, good energy, good vibes. But that's the thing, and you can see that the players are in a good state of mind. They're happy, they're set up, and they're sorted to go in because it's play day 1. Now, if you have missed game 1 and game 2 and you don't want spoilers for how the scores go, cover your ears. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 2 teams got slapped. It was a 7-2.
UK massive flag.
Well, UK massive flag. I mean, the only player here from the region.
That's true.
But a handful of talent here from the region. Yeah, so 2 teams have already sort of had their world rocked early doors. It's the opening day, but in a best of 1 group scenario, a bad day can really punish a team. We've seen teams at the SI sort of groups not too long ago where they would have a bad day and they would have 2 or 3 losses in a day because of it. Maximum would be 2. It's 2 play days, 2 games a day for these 2 teams. And, it starts here. It starts now, and it starts with a good energy that you need to try and carry on.
Yeah, that's something Vitality, for example, did well. They got that win of the get-go, whereas Dark Zero didn't. You instantly saw Canadian pulling everybody together, like, we still have another match to play, right? We need to make sure that one is on point. So, for both these teams, this will be the first one as well. And we will be starting very shortly here. And both these teams, they want to start it off with a strong win. They want to be topping their groups because it is easier to start off strong and then sail out the group than it is to come back after it when everybody else has already gotten their points through.
I think that's it. It's with the competition that this group has become as well, with the fact that Foxay cannot be here to play for OXG. And we're not entirely writing off OXG. That's the thing. You can't really put it in a situation, but you have to highlight just how important a player he is for their roster in terms of not only the role that he does, but what he brings to the game itself and how he can sort of piece the team together. It is this moment now. It's this chance for 2 teams that otherwise haven't quite been able to try and find their way in. You may be wondering why they're laughing so much. We actually can see the chat.
It's a new name of Parker.
Yeah, so Pengu has put a new nickname in. If you see Parker, just refer to him as Parky Walkie.
Yeah, Parky Walkie.
He loves it.
He loves it, absolutely.
The players are posting this in the chat as well of the game. But anyway, we're into the game very shortly. But yeah, as I was sort of saying, it becomes this moment where suddenly there's a little bit more pressure because there's this little bit more requested of them. These 2 teams, you come into this knowing who the favorites are. Everybody wants to win. If you go into a game assuming you've lost the game. That's,
I'm just confused on what they were doing right there. It's either way. Yeah, that's it. Mental is a very strong aspect. Of course, we talked with Pengu yesterday as well, and he was saying, mental is honestly the biggest thing. If you're not in it, you will not get into it. That's the whole thing. You need to make sure that you're into the game from the get-go. If you want to have a good opportunity. And that includes the feeling that you will be winning. Because if you think you've already lost, you have already lost.
Yes. That's it. And, it's that sort of worry. It's that sort of tough position where you find yourself, you've got to keep these vibes high. And when you're in the cool atmosphere of Sweden, the players have little hand warmers. They're very nice.
We actually do have hand warmers ourselves as
Do
well.
we?
Yeah, they're at the talent room.
Oh, well, they're not here.
Oh, it's like these bags. You can bring them along.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there they are.
There they are.
There's-
Those kind of bags.
Perfect cut there. I mean, you feel bad for the Australians. I assume that they're used to slightly
Higher
warmer temperatures.
How warm is it? I think it's like either 1 degree or it's sub 1 degree.
It's about 1 degree today, with I think a low of -3 today.
Well, we are on 2 degrees
2
today.
degrees?
Yes, exactly. 2 to 3 degrees.
summer.
It is summer here in Sweden. I can actually walk around with just my blazer,
Yeah.
and everybody's like wearing a big coat.
Yep. I think that's. I'm wearing a big coat. Also, how cool are all the visuals as well? I love how we're in like the Nordic space.
I love it too. See if we're gonna see some. What's the name called again? I just know it in Dutch. Like, is it like the Nordic Light? No, it's not Nordic Lights. The
Northern Lights. So
What am I-
just
All right.
Northern Lights. So just so you know, there's a slight delay, and we're just getting an admin's headset working. So the players are all sort of ready. This isn't a casters press the start button thing.
We could, but we won't.
We could, but Parkiwaki has stolen it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to say too much about what you're going to see for the playoffs. So the way this sort of works, they're building the group stage. That's all done. But
Exactly.
we can see what is coming together for the playoff stage. Oh, it is so cool. And I'm not going to say any more than that, but like whoever came up with
It's literally cool.
no, shh. You guys have to tune in. Like, tune in for everything. It's a major. It's international play. But it is, it was like a... I want to say things, but I don't want
See,
to
the thing
oversay.
is, like-
it's very awesome.
We've been walking past it the past couple
Yeah,
of
yeah,
days.
yeah.
And you see like pieces being put
Yeah,
up. And you're
exactly.
Like, what is this going to be?
And you're like, what is that? Is there... Are they putting on a play?
like every single day, you see that the picture comes along. We're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And then you're like,
"Oh,
okay.
okay, this is starting to seem very cool. Either way, yeah, we're waiting still. It is going to be the first match of both these teams,
I know.
so there's not much to talk about what happened before.
We also, as you can see scrolling along the bottom, the high caliber reveal panel
Yes.
is later on today. I can't remember the exact time off the top of my head, but it's it's just after the third last game.
Yeah, it is.
No.
What was the schedule again? Was it?
It's somewhere in the day.
It's somewhere in the
later
day.
on in the day. We will have the high caliber reveal panel, which will be showing everything coming in the upcoming season changes. Operator, I'm sure you have seen some of the sampling of a certain new Irish operator that's coming very soon, but that'll all be a little bit later on. Look at that focus. Zoom in more. Just keep. There he is.
How much can we zoom in? That's the question. I don't
Really,
think
like,
this
bumps
time we
him.
can control the cameras like we can in Paris when production is literally like using it with the
Yeah,
remote.
I mean, yeah, we don't have that much
Power this time.
over giveaway, that much of a power for now. But if you've missed it, we're going to be on bank between
Yeah.
these two teams. And one of the things about it, as we find ourselves about to start, so we'll talk about it inside the game, as we thankfully find our way into Chiefs versus Rogue. Now, I was about to say, where Rogue's game suffers is on defense. 32-68, as we listen to the
Yeah.
very cool chanting. This is actually Pengu and Parkiwaki.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
They're
maybe.
preparing for war.
It's so cool. But yeah, their defense is where Rogue have really struggled this split.
Yeah, for sure. And let's see if that is going to be fixed here today as we see a double heart breach ban. The Hibana and the Ace will both be removed. However, with the recent changes from the heart breach gadget being improved, or rather increased from 1 to 2 charges, that means that there is a lot of operators right now that can really help you with these hatches. Think of a Capitao, for example, that also brings these smoke bolts and the asphyxiating bolts. Suddenly becomes a lot more viable, and with the fact that the Thatcher is still available, those hatches, they will open up.
And that's it. It becomes a competitive game because you've got to look at the aspect of the meta that we're in right now. You have to look at how the range of those play sort of brings itself together. To be fair, from what we've seen of Modern Bank is it's a lot of wider holds on the top floor. You have that bit of range. You'll try and play yourself in a bit of a back line if you're holding the top. Kanto corner, which is just by the elevators at the top of the spiral stairs, is often locked in, and that becomes the fight of trying to burn the utility there, drop the body inside the elevator hatch, and move from that point onwards. But in terms of when the map had a little bit of a rework and a renovation, and more of a cleanup, more than anything, the hatch that leads onto the basement is the cost, and the Monty to the Ying might be an attempt to punish with a little bit of pace in the intel built from that 0.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see some of those Candelas come in. I think they will be especially effective, of course, on that bottom floor. And also interesting to notice the 0, as you just mentioned, is a very strong operator now. You have 4 cameras with a single zap that can disable a piece of utility. You now also have 2 heartbreach gadgets.
Yes.
So 0 is really filling a lot of roles here, starting to become a bit of a one-man army. Of course, with a Gon 6 as well, if I'm correct.
I think that's the great thing about the Heartbreach change, is it diversifies what you can bring on the attack. Because it's always been that question, is it's not that sort of battle of the power creep, it's finding a way that you can make a fun, fast, exciting meta, which I think our current one is. But
I like it too.
We used to we had a very slow meta just before this, but at the same time, meaning that you can have a little bit more of a stretch with the operators you bring, moving away from traditional hard destruction in terms of sort of capitalizing on having to have a Thermite and a Maverick every single fight or whatever, especially with the consistency of a Thatcher ban, that changes that up. Now, if we're going to look at a hold here, it's a tall extension. It's the play around that messing up of information. Cryan's going to be trying to waste as much time as possible, but you've also got Aces, who is their top performer as of recent on the Oryx, can get a lot of quick rotations, a lot of quick movement, and that's going to mean Chiefs are going to have to do a little bit more of a solid handhold clear to claw those players out of positions.
And the biggest threat you will have when you're in that elevator is the grenades that come in from below. We've seen it so many times in the European League. Every single time a player is there, the only way they get removed is by a grenade just bouncing right in. Now, there will only be 2 on the hands of God Legion that could be used to try and take care of Cryan, who is of course inside the elevator. However, there's tons of other ways to go at it. You can maybe put up some pressure from below. We've seen that before as well. They start wanting to drop, and suddenly you're going to be able to, you know, pick them up as that. As Ethan is starting to use the Samcams here as the first castle barricade just got opened up by, I believe, the Gon 6 of God Legion.
So Cryan can drop out and he's going to take it. There's a body holding onto green though, so he doesn't have to entirely move right now. Prano is a little bit isolated, sitting just off the beaten path here, but as you can see, the Chiefs are slowly sort of trying to creep their way around. They need to work out where he is. They know it, he knows it, he drops out of there. Pulls himself to a slightly safer position underneath the hatch now, and it's just going to keep holding and rebuffing. Aces pulls his way back too. Prano's going to try and make a rotate, but actually opt away from it. With all the hatches open, he has options. He has the little rotate into the small box towards open too, but it's Ethan drifting down the stairs that might be about to get punished here. They're not quite fully aware where he is. God Legion is the first to suffer. A bit of a spray around the corner. He is trying to find the side of it. The call to Ethan, and Ethan locks off Prano.
And it's going to be the verticality that comes into play there. Prano has been punished for it, but Aces is already on the top of the server stairs here. Tries to rotate out, could be punished for it. But the hatches that are being opened up right here, but Aces somehow makes it all the way back to site without taking a single point of damage. As you now see Chiefs, they are definitely setting up for the default server plans here. Wanting to drop in soon. They just don't know yet if the server stack is clear. As soon as they have that information, they will start pushing in and take care of the utility that will stop them from getting a plant to happen.
Well, so much of this is open, and that's the danger as the canisters start to pop onto the standard plant spot itself. The spray around the corner doesn't quite connect with anybody, and you've got to look at what's in the pockets of Rogue. They only have those smoke canisters now, so it's got to be angles and gunfight as the Ying hops in. They're going to see if they can drop down on the far side. Dropped. Leon is able to find one. Fish gets the revenge there as Fisher drops them. It's a quick spray from Digital, and suddenly it's a 4 versus 1. Everything over Chiefs doesn't connect with the right body and drops down behind the smoke. Can't quite find the connection. And Chiefs find that 20-second execute.
They managed to find it there. Cryan just decided to rotate a little bit further through the hatch. He had the opportunity there to stop the plant from happening, and with that, let time run out so slowly. But Chiefs are going to be able to win their very first round. The attack is going their way. And now Rogue, you know, they have to decide. Do we go to the same site or do we change it up and go for a different one? You cannot see it, but it will be a different one. A staff room and the open area. It's the sites that we saw Vitality and Dark Zero both open up on and both win as well. So far, 100% win rate throughout the event. Let's see if it stays that way.
Again, a Ying is involved in a potential 6th pick here as they are swapped to a 0 now.
6 Heartbreach gadgets.
Got a lot of walls to open as they find themselves heading to Open itself, a site that hasn't had the worst time with the rework, but to be honest, that's more because of the meta that we're in rather than the one that we used to be where it was very boxy. This is a long stretch one, and Rogue love to play in it. As you saw, all the hatches were open, all of the chance at having that sort of rainfall pitter-patter defense where they start at the top and drip, drip, drop their way down to the bottom. Didn't quite work because Chiefs were confident with the pace. The reaction to find Prano is that sort of exemplar point.
It definitely is. They managed to find him. Prano gave away his position, of course, as he opened up the gunfight. And that was when all 4 guns that were around that position were suddenly aimed towards him. He managed to pick him up in just a matter of seconds. Nothing 20 seconds, 30 seconds wasted in that case. They find out where you are, you're taken out instantly. And the Chiefs just continue on like that. So, very solid round from them. Rogue, they need to improve a lot if they want to take these rounds here, because that was just a very good execute from Chiefs on that bottom floor. Of course, the bottom floor is the side that everybody knows by heart. It's been in the game for so long and barely really changed. The only thing that changed were the hatches on the back. Those are not being used still as often as you might want with these changes, but they definitely give it another dimension for the attackers.
Now, can Rogue have a little bit more solidity to their fence? We know the game that they were trying to play, which, as I said, would waste as much time, and to be fair, they wasted a lot of time, but the confidence behind the Ying was a very sharp tip to the spear of the Chiefs' attack there, and defense, Rogue, no, where they struggle. They're generally sitting at about a 30 to 35% success rate on their defenses across EUL, across the slaver of maps that they've played. Bank, we don't know, because they haven't played it. They haven't played the Bank in EUL.
Now, it's not going to be the 6 Heartbreach gadgets. It's Worthy that decided to go for flashbangs instead. As Ethan is trying to put up some of these SAM cams here with the Argus launcher. They keep on being picked up by Klein here, so they're not really getting the information they want. Whereas God Legion actually puts up a really good drone. They are aware of one of the members downstairs and could be going for a potential peek here. Klein gets his feet shot out underneath him as Fisho is the first one to open up the round.
Ooh, the open rappel, yeah. You don't really see the Skylight rappel too often, but here it is used to great force. Aces suffers next with a grenade that gets a little bit too sharp, but they're going to see if they can steadily close around the banana. The spray against the Iana is the one that locks it off as God Legion finds the second, and Chiefs have got their open bodies so much quicker than the previous round. Now, Leon drops down and gets himself a little bit of a danger angle underneath the janitor door to see if he can clean up the mess that they're trying to put towards it. But look at Chiefs, they're not overextending on the push that they don't have to do yet. They've got work they've got to do on the verticality. They're going to make sure that they have those rotations towards the backside and the white stairs open and clear to give themselves that pocket of potential plant. A spray over on the pinch on the body, and Rips goes down next.
It took so long before he finally fell, but Prano, he's still hiding in the corner. 30 seconds, he's in the middle of the side, and Leon gets, I don't know where he even went, he's at the top of the blue stairs right there, hoping to hold anybody off that goes into the open area, but it doesn't seem to be the plan of Chiefs. They want to go for the A-bomb site take, they want to go through the hatch, and it's exactly what they will be doing with the amount of Heartbreach they have available to themselves. Leon picks up one, but is it going to be enough for them to stall out quite long? It's a team kill to come through as well. Prano and the prone will be able to pick up yet one more, and it's just suddenly only up to Fisho now, who goes to the plant. Will be running out of time. It will be Prano to run in, misses most of his shots, but still gets it in the end. And a 2-on-5 situation got turned around by Rogue there due to 2 players hiding and picking up these kills, together with the team kill, of course, which doesn't help either.
Okay, the team kill we did not really see. We didn't get the full read on what happened there, but the confidence of the 2 Rogue players, I mean, they're in good spirits. A 2 versus 5 clutch pull together to punish that late plant attempt. I highlighted the fact that the way that they'd moved in, Chiefs had all the time in the world. They've been able to get 3 bodies by about the minute mark left, and here it just took Prano, who was crouched by the closed drop-in window for most of the time on open. They expected the pressure to come from that side because it was been a slow build, but to be in a position where they could just punish the hatch when there was so much time left.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a Chiefs round. That fair play to the 2 remaining bodies of Rogue that clutched it out. Rogue, you've been able to pull one back, it wasn't really yours to take, but
Yeah.
you've taken it. What can you take next?
Honestly, with the amount of control they had, I feel it was almost better if they would have just pushed down the main stairs and gone through the door there instead of dropping the hatch. I mean, it's okay to open it just for a bit of pressure, maybe some verticality to go for a bit of a post plant, but I didn't feel the need to drop down 2 players through it. Either way, 1-1. Rogue have managed to clutch up that round from a 2-on-5 situation.
5 seconds left.
Scott Legion with a good drone inside the lobby will be able to provide some information, especially on that bottom floor.
It's the big info gap. What we're seeing right now from the defense, obviously they've opted in towards the play of the Pulse and the Valkyrie. They have to mute to try and deny some itself. They're not going for the play against the intel that Chiefs have. Instead, they're going to see if they can build themselves some of their own, not trying to stick to that Vigil sort of looser play that they did before. They're, I think, waking up to a little bit of the pace and the clarity of the drones that Chiefs are playing at, and instead, they're going to see if they can get a bit of a handle, because Chiefs, to be fair, quite quick in terms of boots on the ground inside the building itself. As we already see, it's not this slow play around the windows that potentially Rogue might have expected from teams that they've faced more commonly in EUL.
Yeah, for sure. They're in quickly. They take care of some of the crucial pieces of information. Think of default cams, but also the Valkyrie cams that do get used by the side of Rogue, and that just leaves you with a lot of blind eyes here. So as Leon Gids is just hiding in the corner, he hears the pressure coming down from his left. There is one up on the rappel. In the meantime, a lot of pressure is coming down elsewhere as well, as doors and windows are all being sprayed open, as the Chiefs are knocking upon the doors of Rogue here, who just need to hold on for a little bit longer, but they're just so quick. And how do you stall them out?
That's it, and that's what I'm talking about. They're very fast at getting themselves inside the building to cause some problems already. With Open under at least a little bit of a control, almost caught the player who goes for the double drop and finds themselves now underneath, potentially going to rotate up green, but it's Rips that gets caught out again. This exceptional intel build and crossfire inside the building strikes again for Chiefs as they once again find themselves on the 5-3 lead-in.
Ryan here in a key position. If he manages to hold on to this elevator here, he has the opportunity to try and secure that top floor. Drones are being used. He drops down safely. And that means that he's at least a buddy that is left fighting. I mean, Rogue have managed to clutch a 2-on-5 before, and now with an extra man here, they just need to make sure that they do not make any mistakes right now. And as Aces is debating whether or not to rotate up to the top floor, he has the opportunity to catch someone off guard, but as he's looking for a cam, it's Digital that picks up a crucial kill.
Great take there from Digital at 40 seconds, and it's been a warning sign before they have an idea, but Prano has a different one. Fisho from the top row crying is the one that's left standing in and amongst the madness. The diffuser is cold on the stairs, and 30 seconds, though, is too much time for Cryan to comfortably sit here and wait. The creep up the top stairs, the rotate round is going to find the first fight on stock window, drops it. A 2 versus 1, going to go for the reload. Now stacked on the corridor, can't quite get the Iana, but they've got the diffuser. Picked up, dropped down, and the ping comes through. Cryan is well aware that Worthy's going to see if he can stick it. Has to now. Play his way back to the site, takes the drop and goes for the close swing round on the corner. They're holding the door. The beepers will give a bit of a game away. There's the call of the audio. The bark goes out over the top, but in a post plant and a grenade just to buy some time on the rotate there, and they can reposition. Chiefs have a moment to breathe, but Cryan doesn't have much health to try and take this fight. Worthy locks it off.
He did his best right there. He managed to stall out quite a bit, but you know, the plant was going down, the cover was going to be there. Maybe if he would have decided to actually go through a rotation inside of the archives, he would have been able to go for that clutch. But it didn't work out this time around. Chiefs, again with a very strong start to the round, was almost brought back there by Rogue due to some very weird trading going on. Like, you get a kill on the main stairs, suddenly the thermite drops down upon you right here, as you see in the replays happen right now.
That's from the top right.
It's like 4 people were
I saw a
on
man
the
be
main
split in
stairs. Exactly that. And Cryan, well, he did his best, but unfortunately for him, was not able to clutch it out. The Chiefs, they take back their lead. So, Executive Launch CEO, the next side Rogue will go to. They have hinted on the clash, but will be swapping it out to a Valkyrie. But so far, Chiefs have been really efficient in taking care of the Black Eyes so far. So let's see if they're going to be able to hide them just a little bit better this time.
Now to the top floor, and again, playing a lot of operator juggling. It's always tricky when you see a team on a map for the first time because you try to piece together, well, what are they doing and why are they rotating so much? You're learning how they play it. You're learning Bank on a team that is still learning and developing their own style. As they said, they're going to go back to a style that they like, and let's see how that connects. One of the things that hasn't quite been able to so far on the defense is Aces hasn't really been able to find their way in, is the top performer for them recently across EUL. And that's a bit of a worry because if you're looking at the sort of role that he brings, it's putting people down. He's on a plus 32 and the next is Cryin on a plus 4. It's a really steep drop off, and him not quite finding that against teams that are able to quite clearly, well, at least Cryin opens up. Finally finds an opener in their favor.
It's the only 2 center grenades they have available gone for the side of Chiefs, so suddenly these anchor positions, they become a little bit stronger on the side of Rogue. Just need to make sure that they don't get caught off again by one of the Chiefs members holding off these angles, because that's basically what's happening. They start pressuring, and suddenly a little shift comes in from a member of Rogue, and he's being caught off by one of these flank watchers that is on the side of Chiefs. So as they have the entry now, they need to make sure that they're not moving around too much, otherwise Chiefs is going to be punishing them for it, because that is what they have been doing so well over these past 3 rounds.
A moment for now, Chiefs to sort of reevaluate their play. We could see them going for a bit of a hot approach there. Worthy was jiggle peeking around corners and seeing if he could get the trade on the pickup, but couldn't quite get the connection now. So they're going to see if they can go back to the game that worked for them so well. However, with the deficit, with them losing Iana, those frags, as you said, it puts them in a tricky situation when we've not seen them in too far before. At this point, over the previous 2 rounds, they'd already picked up 2 bodies of Rogue, and now for the first time they're going to see if they can piece it together. Are they going to see if they can try and find a fight and go for the great takes, the claw of bodies away? Or are they going to see if they can put their eyes to the objective instead? Because if they put themselves in that late 20-second plant again, it might not go as well as it has before.
It's always the worry, right? As soon as you go, ooh, that is going to be very detrimental here. Leo gets with a double kill for the jump out. Drops the diffuser outside as well, and somehow will be allowed to make it back to the main door. Question, of course, will be, is he able to survive there? It does look like it, because Digital is on the roof. Worthy is inside the janitor and is trying to, well, contest Kanto here as well. A member comes up the main stairs, is about to be swung by 2 or 3 different members from Rogue. But what Rogue really needs to do is try and slow down this round, because they have a huge advantage here as Worthy picks up Cryin.
Yeah, Worthy's able to take the fight there. Cryin just decided to throw themselves in. The body is inside the elevator, but Worthy's able to creep his way towards the top of the white stairs. Now, Esperano looks to see if he can find the fight on the sliver. It does. It's Worthy with 1 more. But 30 seconds, 3 bodies left. 1 every 10 seconds. It's easy. On paper, it's hard. In practice, Aces slips his way on by towards the sliver on the backside of the site. And with 20 seconds and no diffuser, it's got to be a fight, no flight moment. He's going to see if he can slip his way in. Takes the hop onto the site itself. There's a body close on the left. And Prano locks it off for Rogue.
Huge jump out there from Leon Gitz, getting the double kill and dropping that diffuser as well. So very well done for them. That brings them at least back to that 2-2 mark for now. And that keeps them into the game. They need to make sure, as you said, that defense is not really their strongest feat here on Rogue, that they at least lock this up with a 3-3 split to give themselves a really good opportunity on their second half.
It's always funny when you see like an Echo do a jump out, because
it's like, why? Why Echo?
But the run that they then have to do, it's like Baywatch slow. It's like you've got to try and make it in that moment. 2-2. Rogue have been able to find something, and to be fair, you wouldn't be surprised if that was their first round. The other was a clutch, but I think it was more Chiefs sort of struggling with the execute. So, fair enough. It happens, but here, that was Rogue's round. There wasn't really any question about that. It was early sharp play, which definitely stuttered Chiefs, who so far, that opening minute and a half, has been so strong from them. That was the first time we saw it struggle this game.
Definitely so, and I think you can also just put that up to the fact that Legion, of course, got taken out early. That's 2 grenades gone. Those grenades are normally used to try and dislocate people that are inside quite strong holding positions. And after that, of course, a jump out as well, which gets one. That is logical. The second one is a bit more unfortunate, but they at least managed to go through it. Either way, it is a 2-2 currently, and we are going for a quick rehost.
Yes, there's just going to be a very quick rehost. So we will be back into the game momentarily as we get everything sorted out here. But a 2-2, and it gives us a little bit to talk about because, as we said before, coming into this is the shaky part for Rogue, is opening on their defense. Sure, we always have to take things into consideration, this isn't a map that we've seen from them, which means that it's not a map you assume Chiefs have seen. It's the sad thing for the APAC region. Scrim partners are tough to find. It's not, the sort of ping difference. Their best scrims is when they come to international play. It's always their best experience as well. But because of that, the limited pool means that they won't really likely have ever had Rogue as a scrim partner, which means that stuff like Bank, stuff that we've not seen on stream but is maybe done in scrims, completely unknown, completely up in the air.
That's it as well, yeah. And of course, I think Europe is very lucky to have such a strong Tier 2, Tier 3 scene. Like, a lot of national teams are actual scrim partners for these European League teams. And the same goes with NA and LATAM. They can scrim each other a little bit easier. Yes, of course, there is a bit of a ping difference. Whereas APAC is often just, either limited to the bottom half of the APAC North division for APAC South, and the other way around as well. Because what some people might not know is that it's not just you end up in the top of APAC North or South, you make it, because if you do not get the first place, you need to go through playoffs. And that means you will be playing the exact same teams that you might have scrimmed if you scrimmed the entirety of the other APAC region. So they are limited. Yes, it's something that we've heard many, many times before, that these events, they are valuable in terms of experience, but also in terms of scrimming experience.
And that's it. And, you've seen coaches like Gig on recent international play said it's always that moment afterwards, whenever an event ends, that you go back and you're like, we would have 4 high-quality scrims every day. And I was like, damn. But it also, as I said, it buys into an idea that a lot of people have about APAC, which is a region. It's in a strange position. It's almost in the place that LATAM used to be in about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, where for a lot of the teams, when they do come onto the server, and if you talk to the teams that get to scrim them, so they will start scrimming each other whilst they're all here as well, we had a chat with the Lems last night as he sort of came back in, and he was like, we've been screaming some of the APAC teams. How are they, their gun skill is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's the game that is so hot right now. In APAC, across both APAC South and APAC North, it's fantastic to have 2 representatives from both very strong leagues. I can only imagine the OCE boys waving some little Australia flags.
They will be, and they rightfully can, because it's the first time in ages an Australian team here yet once more. So I kind of want them to go through groups, I want them to make it to playoffs.
I think it's a story that they're more than happy to fight for. And
of course,
what we see from them on a league is great play. Obviously, they've been able to top themselves through and get themselves into the tournament here, but also this opener. If we're going to talk about how their gun skill is a very highlight part of the region in general, it's defined here. Look at the confidence that they have coming into a server, coming into a game against some players who are against them, who have been highlighted as being some of the best gunners in the world on their day, and we're having Worthy just throw himself into this fight. We're having, obviously, Ethan is the only player with international experience on a grander stage out of any of these roster, but you would be surprised by that fact because of the sheer confidence and trust in their skill that is coming onto the server in these opening 4 rounds. 2-2 is the split, though. Rogue, going to pay all the compliments to Chiefs, aren't given up just yet. And they have more of a fight ahead of them.
Also, just quickly wanted to mention, how Europe with 10 teams gives away 4 major spots, NA with 9 gives away 4, LATAM gives away 4. There's basically 18 teams every season fighting for 4 spots in APAC. So, it's a very scarce kind of resource here to get that extra scrim experience.
And the fight is their league, one team goes through, and then it's a playoff competition against teams that they don't play week in, week out. It's... a mini tournament to get to the bigger tournament there's a lot of...
here he goes again. There goes...
Stress. You're waiting for this, but look at this. They're going over towards the hatch itself. The drone was caught out there, the intel, and you hear the boards cracking above Leon's head. That is that game from the Chiefs that is so sharp. It is that opening minute 30, and that is probably the danger where other teams that have to play Chiefs are going to look at that and go, okay, how do we limit that early game from Chiefs?
It was the bait as well. Good Legion went for the rappel, but he didn't go up because he's like, we have that drone, we see he's there, he's going to jump out and I'm going to get him if he does. But Leon gets, of course, checking that one out and will be able to secure that drone. This guy here is trying to take down 2 of himself. I'm sure he's already coming on though. Got Legion actually now inside the lobby, and he's also receiving a bit of pressure from the open area by Ethan.
Now, as they go for their clear across the top here, they're going to see if they can sharpen their way down towards the site itself. It's a different hold on the basement. Instead of going for the loose, everything's open, let's drop down and waste time, they've realized the Chiefs' opening game is too strong.
Yeah.
We've got to turtle. We've got to lock ourselves in a little bit more, and now we're going to get the extension of these hard breach charges. They find their way towards the new hatch, the relocated position, and what becomes, for a lot of teams, a very interesting potential plan and plan.
Now, this is a position that is currently being played, I believe, by Leon Gitz, that is often being manned by a Ella with an FO12. This time, however, no shield, just a bunch of magnets and a proximity sensor as well that will be there to warn Leon if anybody will be to move in. And he just tries to hold on as long as possible. And with the amount of utility that's about to be tossed in here with a Candela and a bunch of flashbangs, this is not a position he can get out of alive because the hatch is already opened up. So he now needs to decide whether or not he wants to stay or risk it trying to go back out.
Well, he's going to pull himself down just to the bottom as everything is still being burnt. There is still more coming through. The Candela doesn't quite get the connection. The ping comes through, and Leon goes from top to bottom, goes for one, can't get the second. Worthy gets the revenge, takes control of the stairs, but 40 seconds. And that's the second time that we've seen the opening frag go into the side of Rogue. Here now, as they try and lock down onto the backside of the server room, there's a body that finds one. Finally, Aces gets off the board, but another trade. Fisho gets the response, and now they've got to try and quickly open the breach towards the default plant spot. But look, this time in the pockets, we have more than just those smoke canisters. The C4 is there. God Legion. He's going for the rotate over the hatch to offer a little bit more width to the control that they've got to see if they can put down on the default plant. The cover of the smokes round onto the position, and another canister pops off Ethan, and God Legion going to double down onto the drop, but it's Cryin that gets one from the top. Fisho gets a drive-by on the body on the backside of Gold, 4 seconds, and Prano just has to find it, cannot!
Again, the hatch coming in for a potential clutch at the last time, but this time it was being watched, and this time the cover was there. There was no opportunity to go for that clutch. And Chiefs, after a strong round, you have to say, from Rogue, because they managed to waste a lot of time and a lot of utility first on the server stairs, then inside of the servers themselves. We're not ready for Fisho, just going as aggressive as he did, jumping over the desk because there was no opportunity for him to plant. There was smoke canisters everywhere. Gets the first, gets the second with just a split of a second there. And that was the opening here for Leon Gibbs. Wasn't unfortunately able to find a second. That would have certainly changed that round and potentially had Aces alive just a little bit longer. But Chiefs, they are leading yet once more, and that is basically how the story of this game goes. Chiefs puts the first step, Rogue follows it up. Chiefs then leads yet once more, and now Rogue goes for a tactical pause.
And that is it. You'll have both teams able to talk to their coach, and Meepy is giving them a bit of that big brain we highlighted at the beginning of this and breaking everything down. Obviously, he gets that perspective behind the team. This is, if you're new to Siege, this is the only time throughout the entire game that the coach is allowed to lower that mic, talk to the team, get in their heads, and sort of bring things together. They have the call on when they can sort of put this, and you can see that it doesn't need the book. It's a gesturing tool as the man makes his speech. It's also their call, but the other team gets the moment too. They can have the time to talk, they can have the time to sit back, and they're in a good position. The 3-2, they want that even half before they head onto their attacks. They know that Chiefs are a dangerous team on their defense, and they've got to try and capitalize now.
Yeah, now Rogue needs to get this third round, otherwise Chiefs, well, they will be heading into the defense quite comfortably with a 2-round lead. And as we're about to get going again, just quickly take a look at the Chiefs here. Some smiles, some relaxed gestures really coming up there. Quickly warming up some of the hands right here. That does mean they look quite ready to get into it.
And maybe he's just gone.
He's like, my job is done. Like,
he's left.
I'm not allowed to talk anymore, so...
He's going to sit in front of no. He will be back in just a moment. But hey, who's that? It's Lion. Let out the cage to see if they can bring some control to the potential loose swing play of Rogue. And what we saw there from that previous round was Rogue that was a little bit more sat pretty in terms of the holes that they want to put together. It's a slightly different idea that you have over open, but one more piece of utility to keep a bit of a lockdown to build into their already very strong opening utility game. It might cause some big problems because you look at how Leon escaped before. We've seen Rogue players, when they realize they're being watched, get out of there. They know that they can't stick around. That line is going to make that so much more dangerous.
Aces here taking a little bit of damage, opening up some of the walls, also the windows, of course, with the Ramadash. So no operator on the board currently to try and heal him back up, like a Thunderbird or a Duck. So there is nothing of that happening. Ace is just preparing himself to potentially hold off to that top floor for as long as he possibly can, waiting for some repels as well, but with the Chiefs that will be well aware of what's currently happening. They see 4 of these windows open up and they're like, okay, there's probably going to be a player down there. Probably.
Well, Chiefs, can you finally break a deadlock that has plagued you since the very beginning? And, well, we've already talked about how it could have very easily been a 2-0 opening for you, but wasn't. And since then, Rogue have kept being able to bring that balance back in. The drones are steadily making their way across the CEO office, sits in the desk like they have the important business, but the business is to try and kill, and Aces might be the potential target. Although Leon has the rotation, the extension onto Janitors. Last time we saw the close down come from here, heard the rappel, saw the tip of a gun, but it's so dangerous in this location.
Oh, it gets picked up there from the long angle created by themselves. Worthy able to shut down Aces, who wanted to go for the pressure down onto the actual player that's repelled upside down into the lobby. As Leon Gids is using a smoke canister here to try and stop the quick push potentially from happening on one of these Chiefs players. He's also trying to dig himself in a little bit sneakily. That's wherever he's trying to go down. He could be flanked, actually. There you have it. He just spotted ahead, but did not quite realize.
Leon has no idea, and there is the punishment. Worthy crouch walk their way down and just blasts through the archives and reads every word perfectly, which is, there's another player on the door, locked off. Shut down 5 versus 2. Hey, we've been in this position before, but now it's down to Cryan to see if he can step in. Can't quite make it lock off, and it's a flawless for Chiefs to lock off a 4-2 half.
It's not really how you want to start, you know, after your tactical timeout that you've just had. But, well, it is going to be the flawless half here for Chiefs. It could have been the ace, just unfortunately stolen away from them. But I think they're more happy with the round than a potential ace for Worthy to come through. Because every round will count in the end. We've seen it in Mexico. What could happen? If you just lose that one round, that could have been a win from the start of it, you know, but might have been a bit hungry on the ace hunt. You never know what happens at the end of the groups in that case. 4-2, Chiefs are leading, and they are leading comfortably 2 rounds in advance. And we're heading to Executive Launch CEO. That will be their first side to defend. Up to the top 4 we go. And if we're looking at the side of Rogue, the only heart breach they have will be from Rano on the 0, and of course Rips from the Bucks, and no designated heart breach operator.
Well, I guess it's the play that we have. It's the sort of setup that we've talked about before where, to be fair, with the pocket hard destruction utility, what you're looking at is big open angles. And sure, there are players and places that you want to have a little bit of hard destruction done. However, the main one on this would be Kanto Corner, which you're not going to be able to get to without the Havana or the Ace. It's too far away. So why not lean into that close quarters aggression and the pressure that you can put down here? They have the 0 to bring themselves some intel. They have the Jackal as the attempt to control the players and rotations of Chiefs as well. It's time to sort of show the game that has got them here, which is their attacking side.
It's also the thing, right? Do you want a breach where you can actually walk through, or do you want a breach where you have to jump through? Because that's the thing with the hard breach gadget. It is basically turning a wall into a window rather than a door, which is something that the other hard breachers do just a little bit better. So, you know, players like to go through doors more than through windows because just the facts and how the game works, how you're not really able to challenge everything when you jump in. So that is something Rogue will have to keep in mind as they're attacking this top floor. They need to use a couple of these hard breach gadgets, which could be dangerous as well.
Well, Prano's been able to sliver his way in, went by the intel that they had on the shield and the potential of the swing, and have the cover coming through. Now, as they get that close quarters wall open at the top of that boxy box stairs, it's time to see if they can get a read on the rest of the hold inside. That castle is going to cause a little bit of problems between the two sides because it turns into a bit of a swing match, and if they can dig out Fisher Guy from Janitors, they've suddenly cleared a great pocket of space, and that puts a lot of pressure onto God Legion to see if they can swing around and apply something back, just some countenance. They've set themselves up and stacked on the far side to see if they can try and pull some approach here. Ace is obviously on the windows itself.
Oh,
just finds Fisher, and that is the little part of the play, but look at the rotation happening underneath square. They have Worthy. He's going for a slow and steady play here to try and cause some problems.
Yeah, definitely so, but Prano actually has the opportunity now to just sneak in, plants it right behind the cabinet there to allow Aces, and Leon gets to, well, hold it from the windows, especially as this castle barricade gets opened up. But now you have to be careful, though, because Worthy is slowly starting to creep up, as you just said, has the opportunity to go for a jump out as well. At some point, it's a double repel in right here. Ethan will be able to pick up one. The plant is not going down quite yet, though, as Reps picks up yet once more. Worthy just saw the man entering the site there, so he wants to stop this from happening. He doesn't want this plant to go through, as it's only him and Digital left.
Now Cryan's aware of this and drops the body there, was able to just find the first kill, and suddenly it's just Digital. The 3 versus 1, but they have the read that he's sitting around on the banana, post-plant. And Rogue have been able to open it up. The quick strike and the double jump in punished the fact that there was just the chance of the trade. It was great. They had that body on the big open window. We've just seen Cryan throw himself out of a window, survives, but they have the cover and the support now to go for the lock on the post plant. There's one behind the desk, one that's ready to pop up, and the upside down repel. It's not easy for Digital. And there it is. Cryan locks it off, and Rogue find themselves their first.
Fist bumps being handed out yet once more. And that is indeed their first round onto the attack. They're closing the gap slightly, bring it back from a 4-2 to a 4-3. That means that if they continue this, then there might be an opportunity that we possibly could be going for an overtime at the end of it. Of course, depends on whether or not Chiefs is going to be able to find any of their defensive rounds. I really like the double repel in here. It's basically it. They cannot kill us all if they're on that banana right there, especially not with Rips coming right around the corner to rescue them. Of course, picking them up right through those railings. Up to tellers and archives we go. Back to the first floor. Gonna see the castle again, making its appearance, logically so. It's a very strong operator now, 4 castle barricades compared to just 3, which has basically been in the game since release. So that is a very, very big change coming through. Also, you have to punch it less with your knife if you want to open it. But
yes,
I don't think it's that much of a nerf, really.
No.
If anything, it saves more times for defenders if they want to castle thrick it.
Well, that's the thing, is the meta we're in is a sightline meta.
Yeah, exactly.
It's open lines, it's long angles, it's you usually play around on a lot of maps with this sort of combination of castle, often a Rooney, is sighted alongside there as well. The mute is a consistency in the meta at the minute, and it causes these sort of very interesting firefights to happen across occasionally an entire floor of a map through about 6 walls, but it's the defenders this time that are opening those angles.
It's the defenders indeed.
What you doing here, Rogue? What you going for here, Rogue?
Going for a quick push here, but they're just droning it out first. See that? Ace is in the archives. We have one going up to the top floor, and now they know that will be clear. They're going to be pushing quickly through the castle barricade here. Is it going to be... Oh, no, it's just going to be the push right here. Digital picks up one, but gets out-traded right afterwards. It's got Legion to drop as well. It's a 3-on-4 situation now, and they have the opportunity to go for a plant here.
Prano's going to see if he can stick it with Rips holding the cover onto the door itself. Waiting and finds the cover there. It's 2 bodies over the top. One's rotating round. He's seeing if he can get the angle, but it's too late. Ethan can't quite get the connection as Rogue realized they had an opportunity, and they took it with aplomb. Just saw the potential and found the fight. Got the lock off. Ethan sprays through. A great opening taken with Rip severely injured. It won't take much more to drop him out. Worthy gets the read and finds the fight there. A great clean down the stairs. A 2 versus 2. But 20 seconds, and now they've got to get a quick rotate down for Ethan to offer the opposite cover for them. Prano is sitting pretty, waiting and hoping to see if there's a read round with the castle wall open. It's going to be a little bit more costly as they go for the take. Worthy's going to see if he can stick it. Doesn't last very long as they slip their way through. Ethan can't quite get the connection. The timer's already gone. It's a 1 versus 1. They're going to get the exit here. Either way, we find ourselves back to 4-4.
Very good push right here coming down from Rogue. They managed to make it stick, but before they went for the rush blindly, they decided to first drone out archives because they needed to get the plan down there. It wasn't just the kitchen open area site that they needed to go, but it was crucial to get that extra piece of covering because that is where a lot of these lines of sight come from. So as soon as they did take care of Digital, who managed to pick up one of the kills and deal quite a bit of damage onto Rogue, they had the angle. And a beautiful shot from Rips there to make sure there was no one able to try and challenge that diffuser.
Well, Rogue now might be the first team to thread 3 rounds in a row together. It's fair to say this game has been exceptionally back and forth up to this point anyway, and Chiefs realize that they do not want this to happen because it could be the first time that Rogue are able to slip into the lead, something that has been in the Chiefs' grasp since the beginning pretty much. They've been in the lead or equal. They just found a buffer of a round before the turn of the half, and now they've just lost it on the other turn of the half.
That's it. Had 2 rounds as a buffer when they got into it. Now Rogue have diminished it. With just a very solid first round and a even better second, which was on the back of a rush. And we've seen that gone wrong sometimes in EUL, where they've tried it, where they got completely picked apart and we were left with only 2 members, but they've only taken a single casualty here. They knew where Digital was, they shut him out of his position. Only taking that singular loss, and normally that's considered a trade. The defense will be quite happy with it, but not in a rush situation where suddenly the whole side is overrun.
And as we find ourselves obviously having a moment to talk, we get the live ranking at the top, and the fact that it's currently 2nd and 3rd, I believe, means that this game on the other stream has ended. Let's see if I can find out the score, because obviously it's something that will impact this game. It's the story that will thread everything together. But 4-4, and a moment to breathe, a moment for Chiefs to see if they can pick things back up here on their defense. They're going to go all the way down to the basement. They have a lot of potential intel, but Rogue, do they have the wherewithal to drive themselves through?
That's it. Can they yet again pull this off? It's going to be the Thunderbird on the board now, something we saw missing on the Rogue lineup when they were using, of course, the RX. Not being used right now by the side of Chiefs, however, but they're on that bottom floor. It's a bit more of a turtle setup. You will be taking some damage as the round progresses because grenades start flying in, gunfights get taken, and you're going to be able to heal yourself back up as a result. Now, this is where a operator like Thunderbird will shine in a situation where you are turtled up behind certain strongholds. And if you see right there, there's 2 Kona stations in the middle of the B-bomb site. So that does kind of tell me that this will be a highly mobile defense where if someone takes damage, someone else takes that spot, and the other one retreats to get healed back up to full in just a couple of seconds. So Chiefs have that set up for them. Rogue needs to find the way around it. And for now, it seems to be just drones trying to clear out that top floor and work your way down.
Now, if you don't want spoilers as to what happened on the other stream, cover your ears, because I'm about to say the result of the other game that was in this group. In 3, 2, 1... Phase 1 7-0 versus OXG. But to be fair, it's an OXG with an asterisk because unfortunately Foxay couldn't be here.
True.
But this is the conversation that we've had, and this is why the fight between these 2 teams is suddenly a second place is a lot more viable. Suddenly, it's not just OXG's seat. FaZe are hot favorites for not just this group, but the tournament, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's over, but it's always worth keeping in the mind. But that result is something that solidifies that moment. It's a tough opening for OXG, and it's an opening that they actually handed out to another team at the beginning of SI when they were here. Earlier this year, they're opening down groups. They were the first team to drop a 7-0. Unfortunately, they're the first team to suffer it.
It also makes this match even more important because head-to-head coming down in the end there. So that could be coming into play. Either way, Rogue are looking to work on their attack. The Flores has been brought. The RCE Rotero drones are being used to remove every piece of utility that would be onto those blue server stairs, and that means they're trying to descend right now. Ethan does get spotted, however, he now needs to decide whether or not to stick right behind the server wreck or not, because I believe we did see Aces drop in. Yes, here he is in the sewers, has the opportunity to pick up a free kill if he's just a little bit quicker. No, there you go, the opportunity has passed. Ethan has snuck himself right behind the server wreck.
Now they've set themselves up here for the standard old school default plant. Crying's above the hatch to see if he can get the angle, but first they've got to try and dig out this player. The Bob is going to give a game away, but it means that they can at least solidify the trade. The swing comes through. The first goes against them. The second almost does as well. Crying just capitalizes and locks it off as Ace shows up on the backside, but 30 seconds. And they've now got to actually try and put the pressure onto the site itself. It's something that we've seen Chiefs be able to pull off, but will they be able to repel it with the same success here? They still have a C4 in pocket, and those canisters that are just going to be thrown towards that default plant spot. Crying is going to have a very rough entrance via it, but Fisho has gone down in the meantime. A grenade locks it off, and Leon's going to see if he can head down 7 seconds and keep the stick. There's the swing onto the green stairs. It's gone Worthy with one apiece. They can't stick it. It's suddenly a 2 versus 1. They've got to find the last player. They're going to hold F. They're going to see if they can get the stick, but Worthy gets the lock off, knows where the final player is, and Chiefs just pull through.
Just had to be a little bit more passive there. All you needed to do was make sure that there was no opportunity to try and jump through that hole and stop the plant from happening. A bit of a misplay there from Rogue, you would say, as they had the opportunity, they had the advantage there. But Chiefs have managed to bring it back. And 5-4 is the current score. They retake their lead, Chiefs. And Rogue will not be the first team to get 3 in a row.
Nope.
That one got cancelled off, and we're back at that 1-for-1 base right now.
1-for-1, and around we go. And Capcan is the next to show up, as they're going to see if they can try and stop the sneaky plays that are happening from Rogue, who have a habit of crouch walking themselves into these tricky situations and having that quick pace aggression. The trade setup on their attack so far has been fantastic. They've been ready and willing to find the fight and the lockup. They're even, in a way, sort of not body checking. They knew that there was a player around the server stack, but got the missed call because of great positioning from the Valk, who was able to pull themselves into a slightly tricky position. However, Cryon was then able to lock it off. Only just, mind, but then there was Aces as well. There was a third body ready for the fight. You don't want to go a 3 versus 1. If anything, that's a success on Chiefs' favor, but it's worth pointing out that that was a setup they had ready.
10 seconds remaining.
They were ready to go for these trades and really force themselves through. Actually, quickly want to highlight the opening into the open area that goes from the elevator. There is a double Capcan on the door with a serial laser gate on it. So there is a lot of utility that needs to be cleared, and maybe, you know, they'll just toss in one of those flashbangs. They run in right afterwards, so that is going to be 120 damage.
That's a lot of damage.
You'll be taking either way, so that definitely needs to be cleared out by Rogue if they want to use that door. Otherwise, it's not even a DBNO, it's just a guaranteed death.
And if you are like, wait a second, multiple cap cans on a door?
Yes, what is that?
That's a change. That's a recent change that happened not too long ago, where you can now stack multiple cap can traps onto the same door to offer a bigger boom and bang for your buck. But obviously, the more you put on, the more obvious it becomes.
Yeah, they've shown it with the development.
Yeah, there was like
50. There was like 50 on a
You
single
cannot
door.
do that in a game, but they made a hilarious picture to demonstrate the possibilities and positions that those Capcan traps can now be in. But talking of positioning, Leon is steadying away across the top, seeing if they can find any footprints, but it offers them a little bit more of a clearance here. They have some clarity over the top floor, and they can start eyeing their way down with a minute gone.
Flank drone being set up here by Leon, making sure that the bottom of the main stairs can be watched. And so there's an opportunity to actually use those drones, because everybody's doing quite a bit of work, because Rip's taking a bit of damage right here from one of those nitros. He's starting to open up the ceiling. He's being greeted by a couple of explosives as he spots out a player. And there's a little bit of damage to God Legion, but not enough to actually go for the kill.
Yeah, that wasn't entirely based on the knowledge. Obviously, it'd come through that someone had C4'd, but it's the pre-fire towards the back of the stack. It's a close corner that they played in before. There is a take from Aces. Slow crept his way round and has woken up into the second half. Found his feet on the attack, and that's definitely been a big boon for Rogue. Now, they have the opener, but they only have a minute left to see if they can try and collapse their way further down. A steady grab and pull of intel to see if they can just try and claw some more of those players away, but Chiefs have pulled themselves slightly further back. They still have the bodies on the site, but they still have at least 2 players that are in a position potentially underneath, with God Legion ready to drop if it gets a bit too hot.
So they are in an open area in the kitchen. It's not going to be Archives Tellers, which is currently what a lot of the pressure on the side of Rogue is being aimed towards. And They are slowly starting to take control. They will be forced to go through very small angles and very small rotations right here. Basically chokeholes set up by the Chiefs to try and put themselves up onto a match point. And with 30 seconds left on the clock, it's starting to look even more likely here. Aces, he needs to make something happen. He needs to make something big happen. Knows one could be on the server stairs, and as Leon goes down, it's a 4-on-4 now.
Ethan was creeping his way up from underneath, but it's Aces that finds Worthy at the top of the staircase. Almost grenaded out, but followed up by Cry. And hey, that's 10 seconds. You've still got to go through. Kapkan, we talked about it, and it's a double. Cry and Rips, both blown out one apiece, and suddenly it's Digital on the back line.
He gets it away! Digital!
Puts Chiefs onto map point, and that 10-second double Kapkan gambit and a huge Elder pop from the far side.
I think it was the ACS.
Was it the
shotgun,
ACS?
I think, yeah.
Either way.
I think we'll get to see it on the replay, but I just saw like tap, 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 and it went through on the end on the very final shot, and he realized he would have won that round
Yeah, it was
there.
the ACS. You just assume from that range. Oh, wow.
This one, tap, tap, tap. That was the kill to come through, and that was suddenly the one-on-one, the diffuser down. And Chiefs are on match point. They can take a win here. And we just mentioned with FaZe really being the favorite in this group, with Oxygen, of course, taking a hit, with Foxay not being here. This could be a deciding matchup in the end. You never know
Attackers need to
that this first game could be this important.
6-4 Chiefs. And if we're going to talk about how rounds came through as a clutch to Rogue earlier on, I would say, yeah, there was technically a clutch there and it was impressive, but the play on the utility, the double kill for the double Kapkan gambit, the fact that we sort of said, that's dangerous if you don't check that out.
I think it was also two different doors where Kapkans went off at the same time, because it was just a single one on the double door, but I think the other one actually came through from Tellers to Archives, because there was also one place there. And those just went through at very similar times there. The Chiefs able to pick up a double kill as a result. Are now finding themselves onto match points. And now they again have the opportunity to get 3 in a row. But if they do that, that means it's game over. And even with the spawn peak here, hoping to find someone is not going to, at least it looks like.
6th pick Kapkan led to a double, but it's something that is potentially going to slow down Rogue's play now, because they'll be cautious for those sort of plays, and it puts them at a little bit of a struggle right now, because they need to apply the pace that's been good for them before, but also it's a caution. Chiefs have learned, and they found out a way to punish them in the close quarters. The tack timeout came through for them in a way that it didn't quite work out for Rogue so far, and now it's 2 opportunities for Rogue to see if they can at least pull this back to the potential of victory, the potential of that OT match point. And they're going to find some feet and push the body towards the elevator. You expected somebody to playing there, and this might put them in a bit of a cost, but they have the hatch to drop. They take it. They leave that last ping just at the top to buy themselves a couple of seconds of rotation underneath, and now they have that freedom again.
And that forces them to actually start checking it out as well. Just that piece of information and waste just those couple of seconds, as you just said. The next scan. Oh, that one is inbound. The alibi yet once more gets pinged. Will be forced to fall back deeper into the side, actually. Into safety. Soprano's starting to open up at the bottom of the elevator here, starting to create some long angles to cut down the Chiefs and potential rotation opportunities back towards the Teller's office, because all Rogue, as you currently see them, are looking to set up for an execute onto the office itself rather than the archives.
Wow, with the caution that's being applied, this is one of the longest rounds we've seen without somebody already suffering in what has been a pretty scrappy and aggressive early game from both these 2 teams. They've been trying to find each other, and Rips finds the first. Digital, the man of the moment of the previous round, is the first off the board for now, but there's still 4 more to try and lock themselves in on what has been 2 rounds finishing off the planter. Leon finds Worthy, and Cryan finds one more. It's a 5 versus 2. And they have 50 seconds. It's a 5 versus 1. God Legion ensures it's not a flawless, gives an idea of where they are, suffers pressures and bouts from multiple sides, and Rogue are able to find a round. 6-5.
The 3 in a row is just not being handed down to anyone right now. 6-5, that means a singular round left for Chiefs to try and lock this one up and start their major run with a victory against Rogue. And if they don't do it now, we're heading towards overtime. And that could be, of course, a bit of extra pressure added towards it. The members of Rogue are quite familiar with, of course, all in their different teams they have played on. Especially on international stages.
For all the other games so far, so it's been a 7-0,
7-1,
and a 7-2. And this is
the overtime.
The first game. This is the first game that might hit overtime. Hasn't hit there yet. Rogue have one more chance. And to be fair, if you look at the 2 rounds that Chiefs have been able to thread together, it's sure been a fight that's led to that point, but it's been two versus one plant situations, and in different ways Chiefs have been able to bring success out of it, whether they took the planter and the time ran out, or whether they took the cover of the planter and then took the planter within the time. Either way, that's 2 clutch rounds in a row for Chiefs to put themselves onto match point. Rogue will be aware of this, and that can be one of the most tilting things, is being that close to victory twice and having that final disconnect.
I mean, we've seen it on the side of Chiefs as well. What was it? 2v5 clutch or something?
2v5 clutch.
Through, so
it's frustrating, but at least that was round 2, and at least that just happened once.
That is true. It happened a while ago, so that will be a little bit less fresh in the minds here. As Chiefs, well, they managed to pull off 2 of them. Now Rogue, 1 more round and you find yourselves in overtime, and the opposite goes for Chiefs. 1 more round and you manage to get yourselves a 3-pointer, because those also count here. Those points go to overtime. That is also good for Oxygen, who just got 7-0, because that means there is less of a point gap to bridge towards number 2.
Now, as they try and find their burn across the top, they're utilizing frag grenades to get to the Iruni gates, because the Gon 6 and the removal of utility is more important, sharp and aggressive. And this was actually how we saw some of their lead in before. The double swing in on the cover, but it's Fisho that has the control inside. Janitors takes care of Leon. And that's a big take, because as the Jackal, he has been a big drive for the team across the board so far, and it's a spray round that's instantly punished. Aces is going to try and swing in and apply some pressure. Cryan has the cover, finds Ethan, but they still have the control. Are they just going to try and stick this? Yes, I think they are. The cover of the audio might come through, but they still have Janitors, they still have control, and there's Cryan. He can't quite get the angle, but it's a post plant. 4 versus 3. Somehow they've stuck it down and made it count, and now it's a cover over the top. Prano survives, but it's a pistol drop, and Cryan with the cover from the square, doubled and locked off for his 3rd of the round, and now it's a 3 versus 1, but Prano is down behind the CEO box. Oh, not for very long. We're in the first OT.
We're into OT indeed. Rogue yet once more with a very quick round here. Really surprising the Chiefs. And that does seem to be working out. Every single time they've gone for a bit of a quick plant, quick rush ID, that were very successful rounds. And that is 50% of the rounds they've won on the attack. And now they will start off on the attack as well during OT. And the smiles are still there. That is the most important part. And if you're looking at the Chiefs here, I'm not sure, but they're very focused. They know that they're in OT. They also know that there's still the opportunity to take the win here. And that is what counts.
It's tricky for the Chiefs right now, because obviously they've been able to pull 2 of their defenses. It was clutch takes.
Yeah.
I would say so far out of the 2 teams, the only one who's really had a convincing defensive round was Rogue. 1 time out of the 4 defensive rounds that have been won in this showdown. It is 2 great attacking teams that haven't quite been able to find the connection on the defense of holding the others off in different ways, different methods, and different play styles. But here was where one of those 2 clutches happened. Here, Chiefs have an idea that they might be able to do it, because if they can take this round, if they can pull off one of those magic 2 moments, then they put themselves on the attack, they put themselves on the map point, but most importantly, they put themselves in that position again on their preferred side.
Now the clutch that happened here, I would dare to say there was a bit of a mistake that came through from Rogue. Aces went a bit too aggressive, swinging the hallway, knowing the full well that the last player was inside of the vault. Lost that gunfight, and well then the last member is stuck on the plants, cannot really do anything. It was just a sitting duck in that case. So, Chiefs need to make sure that such a situation does not arise again. They need to make sure that they do not have to rely onto a mistake that Rogue makes to win that round. They need to pull in their own weight right here, right now. They need to show what kind of a defense they got on this bottom floor and make sure that Rogue has no way of penetrating it.
Well, Leon is going for a different approach here. The Jackal's off the board. Instead, they're opting to try and bring the Candelas and offer some blinding assistance to the push here. Cryan has been a huge force as well in driving home the aggression that has led into the fights. Okay, he's been in the position to pick up the trades a lot of the time, but at the same time, that has been their way of getting into the site, and you need that second player, that gunner, to be gunning. And it's something that, in the tier 1 scene at least, he's had a little bit of a hit and miss attitude. So, opening with a hit is that impressive part that's keeping them in it for now. On the split side, Chiefs, they've been pretty balanced in terms of their defense. They're still trying to work out where the pressure's coming from. And I think that's the tough thing, because where they were strongest on their attack was their control of the map and their control of the intel. And here, they're sort of handing a lot of that over on their defenses. They're not trying to meet early fights the same way that Rogue were.
No, they're definitely not. And Rogue, you know, using these hard breach gadgets actually to a good opportunity here. That is going to be the smoke canister detonated. At the moment, Leon runs in. That's a free kill onto Fisho. He will just slowly slow them down, though. But they will be able to take this ground basically for free now, because it was just perfect timing. The canister gets tossed out. It gets detonated as well. And Leon takes that control. And that means they can now start opening up towards that default bomb site, towards that default plant. And still have so much utility available to them to try and make this happen. And Nitro gets tossed out, will not be able to get the kill down onto Cryan though, so he will be relaxing onto his drone because he knows there is no more C4 to come out.
Relaxing, but he also wants to do this. Drones it deep. Didn't know that they were that close underneath, and to be fair, you wouldn't expect them to be that aggressive to the hatch itself. Ethan, he's trying to find the place the fight is, and this is the point I was trying to raise before, is Chiefs have been steadily doing that tough maths. And no maths is fun, but working out exactly what the push is and where the bodies are coming from and why becomes tricky. Hey, there's a big gun that locked off a successful clutch round before, and Digital is tapping with all the echoes and fear and terror that it can offer. But the swing round doesn't connect Cryan. Unfortunately, takes too many steps. The Candelas pop off, and Leon and Rips pop off too. Trying to find their way down towards the back of gold. It's the only player left, but 9 seconds, and Prano should have the plant locked off this time. Just has to hold the angle, can't get the connection. Double! And there's a double, the C4 over the top, but it was on the other side. Suddenly, Worthy has 1 HP in a dream, but it's a little bit closer to coming to actuality. Prano is the lock off the plant, and Rogue have 1 round for the first time. They're in the lead.
For the first time, they're in the lead as well, indeed. And for the first time, they will have a match point available to them. And now the pressure will start to arise. The Chiefs, they started off so strong in this matchup. The Rogue able to bring it back so far, really giving them a run for their money. And again, almost that one person inside of the goal vault able to clutch out around. I don't want to say it, but he got a double kill there. Had the opportunity for a triple. Just the Nitro cell tossed the wrong way. If it would have gone towards the right, it would have been able to pick up the planter even.
Now the focus is all onto the mantle of the Chiefs, as they're going to see if they can lock off one swing, one last chance here to at least keep the game alive. The defense was always going to be tougher. This is their chance to bring it even. The pressure is in a way on Rogue right now. They're 1 round away from finding a connection, and to be fair, they also were pretty shaky on their defense because of the great attacks from Chiefs. The difference is, it was a while ago for Chiefs. They've come into this now not as hot as Rogue were. Rogue were able to thread 3 attack rounds in a row. The first time a team this entire game has been able to thread 3 rounds in a row. And Chiefs have got to remember how good they were in the opening half of this game.
I also want to just say, Chiefs, their attack they won, the second one especially on this one, came down a lot to Fisher guy. It was a 2-on-3 situation. He just jumped over the desk, got the smoke kill, somehow managed to get the kill into the vault as well. You find yourself in a 2-on-1 situation, you just go for the plant. And that is something Rogue needs to stop. They need to make sure they have the pressure down onto the blue stairs. They need to make sure they have the pressure down inside of the server room. And if they do, then surely there is an opportunity for them to win this time. Cameras out as well. Information being gathered by either team as the Chiefs are looking for a way in. We've praised them for how quick they always got into the building. This might have been one of the slowest rounds so far before Gut Legion is inside.
That's it, and this is one of those things that sort of, you know, you're cautious about happening, concerned about happening, because there's a lot of pressure on Chiefs, but one of the biggest highlights was how quick they were at getting in and building off the intel. They have that here. They know who they want to go for, and it's the body inside open, but they actually find Cryan first, above, Worthy. Gets that lock-if, and to be fair, maybe it was just God Legion was playing a little bit off, because still, that drive of Worthy, who, to be fair, on the buck earlier on, was causing problems in open. It's so sharp, and it's so good. And it's something that it's good to see that they've come in with that little bit of a heat because they played it so well before. They're fishing now underneath to see if they can get the lock off on the second body that they had an idea about, but they can't quite get the connection. Two of them move into kitchen for a bit of safety.
Trying to fall back just ever so slightly, hope to hold in for just a little bit longer because these hatches are absolute key for the attack. They need to open them up if they want to go for a plant, because otherwise, well, you're just fighting the horizontal game here. So as the buck is still above, it is going to be Ethan on that drone feeding a lot of the information, and God Legion hoping to win these fights. He needs to win the fights if they want to have an opportunity here, Chiefs, to bring it back to max OT. Ethan jumps in. No, actually, Fisho gets the first one. Ethan is quite close as well. And Aces, he's just hiding on the hatch here.
Weighing on the hatch, and Rips is at least able to find one back, but they're aware where Aces is. He can't quite get the lock on the fight, and it was a hop over from the shoulder of Ethan as well that offers some of that solidity. Now, a 4 versus 2. There's a minute on the clock. We've seen them stumble on this before. They sure don't this time. Fisho had the lockdown, gets the double, and now it's just Leon inside the site. Drones hopped and moving and grooving, but unfortunately nowhere safe for Rogue. For all the times we've had quick games today, we are going all the way.
We're going all the way into the second game on the B stream here. And we've just previously highlighted it with the current situation with Oxygen, with FaZe, and you know how strong they seem to get into this tournament. This game could be, in the end, deciding who would be taking it. Because there is the tiebreaker rules, you have the head-to-head, etc., etc. You want to make sure that you start this one off strong because it is for the second place, but also to get the head-to-head temporarily over the third place. And yes, you will be meeting each other again. If you don't do it now, you have the opportunity to just go for a full lockout win of 3 points later on, which of course would turn over this result. But you first need to achieve that as well.
It's also worth highlighting who they have later on today, because every team plays 2 games a day.
Yeah.
Chiefs have FaZe later on, which obviously FaZe are going back to 7-0. That's not easy. That is the toughest game for every team in this group. And then Rogue of OXG, they have a team that's come off the back of an 07 that's playing with a fill-in player. It makes this sort of way up in the decisions a bit trickier, but if anything, regardless of how this game goes, it's the perfect warm-up for both these teams. A full extension is often, it gets you hot, it gets you in a mindset, and it shakes you awake, I would say, in a better way than an 07 might.
10 seconds left before
It definitely will. But both these teams, they so badly want to get this final round. And Rogue is in the advantage. They are on the attack. There's just no other way around it. Only 4 rounds in these 14 have been won on the defense. It does mean there's a chance. It just means that the attack, however, is a little bit more likely to take it here. But it can all rely on to the first gunfight to come down. If that suddenly goes down in the way of Chiefs, then it could all go their way in the end. And that is something that is also well within the minds of Rogue. That is a good spot. They know one is inside of the garage, but they don't really have anybody near in a position right now to deal with it. So instead, they'll just deal with the first and second floor instead. Clear that out so they can start opening up these hatches.
Leon has crept his way all the way around and might find a freebie here. Drops them as inside the pressure on the site. Leon is going to see if he can lock down the rotation. They're going to get the drop on the default cam as Rips and God Legion find each other, but it's Rips that locks it up for 3 versus 5-4. Suddenly as Fisho digs in, gets one back, but there's Leon locking it down from the corridor. It's just the single player. Worthy goes off the board. Rogue lock off the max OT. Finally find the win. It was a sturdy, strong fight all the way, but 2 great attacking teams. Well, who had the favor of the amount of attacking rounds? Today, that was the team that took it.
Today it was Rogue indeed, and it managed to take it with a 7-8 scoreline. And what a game it was. But before we break this down further, we are heading to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We will see you soon.
What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal. Press play.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
Welcome back to the desk. After that, our first game that wasn't entirely blindsided by a team across all of the games so far, and a max OT and attacker-sided bank between two very good attacking teams.
Yeah, and I have to say that the real thing that differentiated them here was the pace that Rogue brought in the actual successful attacks they've had. I think half of the attacks they won were basically where they managed to get into the site and managed to go for at least an attempt on a plant within a minute 30, really catching the Chiefs off guard there. That is something that really made sure there was no good opportunity for them to really shine on their defenses, because the rushes, well, they were just a little bit too strong. As we pull up these highlights here, because there were plenty of them in this 15-round game.
I think that's the thing, is what we saw here. Don't get me wrong, Rogue are the team that walk away with the points, but I wouldn't use the word convincing.
No,
for either
not
of
at all.
these teams, it was two teams that are great at attacking, and that's all it really was.
Yeah.
There was probably, out of the 4 defensive rounds that were won across the game, 1 convincing one, and the other 3 were clutches, and clutches are cool and clutches work, and it's still a scratch on the board. But when you're up against teams like FaZe in your group, it has to be more. It has to be better. It has to be sharper. It's a wake-up for both these teams. If it was the other way around in OT as to who got to attack first, it could very easily have been Chiefs' game.
It would have probably been Chiefs' game. You have to be honest with that one. So let's just hope that for both these teams, this is a bit of that warm-up where it doesn't really rely that much on the clutches for the future games, because, well, if you want to be making it far, you cannot really only rely on the clutches. You need to be a bit dominant, like FaZe, for example, have been, like we saw the other 2 teams, Vitality, be over Dark Zero, and Team 1 over Sandbox.
And that's it. And that's the break of the mold right now, is this is what happens when we see 2 teams hit heads that haven't quite got the sharpness on one side of the game. It's not that there was just 2 teams that battled back and forth the entirety. It was 2 4-2 halves, sure, but there was 3 clutches out of those defensive rounds. Against a team that could punish those, it could have been one of those quick games. And both these teams will be aware of that. Both these teams know the importance because of the group and because how things have shaped up now for OXG, who are in a trickier spot without Fox A.
Yeah, they definitely are in a trickier spot. They want to make the best of it. The question is, what will be the best if you're lacking one of those key players? You know, like, it's going to be a very difficult one to at least estimate to see where they will be ending up in the end. So let's pull up the scoreboard if it will be available to see who really led the charge here for either of these teams. And Crying out on top.
I mean, it doesn't surprise
me either.
Especially obviously seeing Worthy as well. Now, Ethan has generally been one of the big players for them. He was the sort of highlight before, but actually coming to this, Worthy and Ethan were the 2 top-rated players. You're seeing worthy be a driving force in a gunfight game, and this was a gunfight game. This was a sort of heavy, quick game. Again,
It was.
you cannot really fault the attacks for both these two teams, regardless of the result. I think that both showed really good, really clever attacks, really different ways of bringing it together. But, you know, that's not where the problem was. That's not where the problem sort of sat, and that is the struggle. That's the game that they're now looking into, is obviously later on in the day, Chiefs have to go up against FaZe, and Rogue will have OXG.
We also have to mention, by the way, Aces, as we said before, was the big fragger of Rogue. Unfortunately, not really had his game here. Maybe if he did, it would have been a bit of a closer call, or less close call here for Rogue. You never know. But, well, it is how it is. 2 points for Rogue, 1 goes up to the Chiefs, and with that, our standings will be taking some shape as well.
Look at that.
There you have it. Group A, FaZe currently leading. I should have maybe gave a spoiler alert for those who were still watching and didn't want to
too
know.
late.
But it's going to be the 7-0 for them over Oxygen. Rogue follows them up, and then Chiefs, and then Oxygen.
And obviously the importance of the fact that this is an OT point as well. If you're unfamiliar with the system, it is 3 points for a win in standard time, or if you win an OT, you get 2, and as a commiseration prize for making OT and putting up a fight, the loser still gets a point. So Chiefs still get something to claw their way into 3rd place. However, they'll need a lot more if they want to be able to, because now they're angling towards 2nd. We are angling towards a game that's going to be on just after us. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back with our next showdown here on the stream.